welcome back to Amber's version of the Bhagavad Gita summary. In the previous video, we dove into the Bhagavad Gita chapter 1, where they set the stage. They put all the warriors onto the battlefield and allow us to dive into a space of Dharma. What is my work? Is this right? Is this wrong? What is right? What is wrong? And then we go into chapter 2, where in chapter 2, Arjuna asked Krishna, the Lord, being reborn into human form, to be his guide, his mentor in this time. Chapter 2 is a brief summary of what the entire Bhagavad Gita will be about. In chapter 2, they break down what is yoga and what different forms of yoga are there. Mahatma Gandhi says that if all the other scriptures of the Bhagavad Gita were vanished and non-existent, that number 2 would be the most valuable one. Krishna says to Arjuna, what do I do? What should I do in this moment? He's torn, this inner conflict. He doesn't want to go to war against his family, yet his dharma as a warrior is to get onto the field and fight. And there's this conflict. And I'm sure as we dove into the previous chapter, there's conflicts in our own lives as being a mother or a partner or a friend, and these ideas of what we think is right and wrong based on society or what we've been conditioned to believe. And as we dive into chapter 2 and we go through like, what is yoga and what does that have to do with my life? Where in chapter 2 we're being taught or told not to crave or resist, not to seek pleasure or resist pain, not to seek success and resist failure, these dualities. So how can we live in a place of non-attachment? And this is the practice of yoga to calm the fluctuation of the mind. So when we smell a pastry, it's not like, oh, I smelled a pastry, now I have to eat the pastry to fulfill that desire. As we get onto the path of yoga, we create this space from our senses and our desires so that we don't have to take a piece of cake every time we smell the pastry when we walk past. And in the same way, Arjuna asked Krishna, like, what is yoga? What does presence have to do with being in and of the world? And it's because if we need to fulfill every desire we have, then we start to act from a place of selfishness, like, I have to do this so I can receive this, rather than doing what you do without desire for results or an outcome, also known as selfless service. When we get to the heart of yoga, we find our true essence, that which inside of us is always there and it never changes. A really good example a teacher of mine shared with me was when you have a piece of chocolate or sugar or you fulfill some sort of desire, is it actually that created happiness? And what I mean by this is if you have a piece of chocolate every single day, after 4 or 5 days, that high or that moment isn't as profound as it was the first day where you're just eating that piece of chocolate. And the reason for this is when you're having that piece of chocolate or you're making love or you're working out, whatever it is that gets you that natural high, that connection, is that you're in the moment. That moment, it's just this glimpse where nothing else exists but this connection to that space within you that is unchanging. So chapter 2 is the entire summary of the Bhagavad Gita. We practice yoga and we do what we do without attaching to some sort of outcome. We practice to not desire or crave, not to push away or resist, but to be in and of this world as unattached as possible. And with this unattachment, we can make wise decisions. It doesn't matter where you are in your life as a human being, you're going to have judgments, you're going to have decisions to make. And the more that we practice the tools of yoga, the more we can make wise decisions and wise judgments. In this chapter, I invite you to contemplate what's something in your life that you resist? What is something in your life that you crave? And is there this dance that creates suffering? Or are you able to notice the craving and step away from it? And there's different things that will pull us in, say example, craving love or connection, touch from someone, opposed to saying no to sweets every single day. Depending on who you are and where you're at in your life, what you're craving and resisting is going to change. And also at the same time, is what you do for work, is the way in which you serve the world, selfish? Are you doing it for some sort of outcome? Or is it because that's your purpose, your heart's desire, and you do it to serve and not for attachment to get something in return? We'll dive more into these aspects throughout the rest of the chapters in the Bhagavad Gita, but now it's contemplate for you craving and aversion, success and failure, attachments and judgments, and see what rises for you. If you have any questions or any really good examples, please share them in the Practice Yoga Daily, because we can all learn from that. We can learn from bringing our awareness into the present moment to be the best human beings we can be. This is why we practice yoga, for ourselves, and then ultimately for our community, our lives, and those that we affect with our life. I'll see you soon.